TASS news agency reported that the German Ministry of Finance announced the freezing of Russian assets worth €4.1 billion, nearly $4.5 billion. Speaking to reporters, German Finance Ministry spokesman Nodjinan Niminde-Dundadengar said that the Berlin government has decided to freeze Russian assets within the framework of European Union (EU) sanctions against Moscow. This number includes all assets in sanctions, including frozen money, economic resources of individuals and frozen assets of the Central Bank of Russia, Mr. Niminde-Dundadengar said. Sweden's Dagens Nyheter newspaper assessed this as a bold move by Germany in the context of rising tensions with Russia. Previously, on December 20, 2023, the German Federal Prosecutor's Office presented a petition to the court in Frankfurt, requesting the seizure of more than €720 million, about $786 million, from an anonymous bank account of Russia is in this country. The decision was made after German authorities suspected Russia of intentionally violating embargo regulations under German law. Double blow, Germany's new move took place not long after the country announced a historic agreement with Lithuania, which allows Germany to permanently deploy 4,800 soldiers and 200 support staff to the Baltic country. Only about 100 kilometers from the Russian border and right in the line of fire if Russia launches an attack against NATO territory. This can be considered a double blow to Moscow in the context of Berlin warning that Russia could attack Germany and start a defensive war after the Ukraine conflict ends. Recently, Russian President Vladimir Putin also signed a decree to respond to unfriendly countries, targeting the giant Yuzhno-Russkoye oil and gas field, which Wintershall Group, Germany, partly owns. This move marks the largest asset confiscation in Russia's recent history. This situation makes relations between the two countries even more tense. TASS said that in Mr. Putin's list of congratulatory messages for next year, there is no Germany. Coordinate with 6 major powers to attack Russia. Notably, not only did the Berlin government freeze $4.5 billion worth of Russian assets in Germany, but it also coordinated with the remaining 6 member countries of the Group of Industrialized Countries, G7, to seize nearly $300 billion of Russia's foreign exchange reserves have been blocked by Western countries since Moscow launched a special military campaign in February 2022. The United States has proposed establishing 3 working groups to consider the legal issues surrounding confiscation, how to apply that policy, as well as options for how confiscated funds can be used to assist. Best for Ukraine. The New York Times, citing information from unnamed U.S. and European officials, said that U.S. President Joe Biden's administration is quietly signaling new support to receive a huge sum of $300 billion. Any Western move against Russian assets would be considered theft, violate international law and weaken reserve currencies, the global financial system and the world economy. Gender. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov. Russia responded firmly. Director of the Economic Cooperation Department of the Russian Foreign Ministry, Mr. Dmitry Bereshevsky, warned that Moscow would take appropriate action if the West confiscated Russia's frozen assets. Meanwhile, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that Russia has prepared a list of Western assets that can be confiscated if the G7 decides to confiscate $300 billion in frozen Russian assets. When the West started applying unprecedented economic sanctions against us, they did not think about the boomerang effect, but now it is obvious, Mr. Peskov said. The Kremlin spokesman emphasized that any Western steps towards Russian assets would be considered theft, violating international law and weakening reserve currencies and the financial system. Global and world economy. Mr. Peskov warned that this would have many serious consequences, adding that it would weaken other countries' confidence in the US and the EU as economic guarantors. Of course, we have analyzed possible retaliatory moves in advance. We will do everything to best suit our interests, Mr. Peskov emphasized. According to the Financial Times, when confiscation of property acts as a response to aggression, sooner or later it will lead to open war between the side occupying and the side confiscating property. Germany lost most of its overseas assets after World War I, but the occupying countries could only activate their confiscation rights by declaring war on the German Emperor. Another similar precedent is the confiscation of Iraq's foreign assets to punish the late President Saddam Hussein for attacking Kuwait in 1990. However, this is still subject to the United Nations authorization of military actions. International intervention to maintain peace. Those examples show that Ukraine's allies cannot get along on both sides, just practice declared wartime power, while affirming that they did not want war with Russia. Besides, after this action, the West will set a destabilizing precedent, confiscating property to end a war in which they do not openly participate. This would expand the range of enforcement actions a country can take in respect of disputes in which it is not directly involved. If the basis that the West is relying on is in effect since 2003, European countries are fully capable of confiscating foreign assets of any country that is part of the US-led coalition attacking Iraq.